First thing on the agenda, we can talk about 198 and 200 Main Street. So I think I'll turn it over to you because you've been getting information on it, right?
A little bit. So currently we have our last manhole on the system comes off of Summer Street and comes up just a little ways up Main Street. It ends pretty much in front of 198 Main. And the property, I guess, at 200 is interested in tying into our system.
Which is guests.
So it does pose a couple of challenges. One is there is a Verizon telephone bank on that sidewalk. And obviously to try and come out into the street and run a section of pipe on that busy street, we feel it's probably more preferable if 198 Main is okay with having 200 Main Street share that connection as it comes out from the sidewalk to the main line. So that's what I see as the
So
easiest.
they would have to provide an easement for that.
It does
Cross-
appear that way, yeah. I looked at it briefly. To bring it across that sidewalk, like I said, it's pretty tight, so there'd have to be probably some sort of easement made and then a decision, which would be your contractor who'd have to figure out how to tie it from 200 Main to the 198 stub.
Okay. Am I understanding her correctly though? Like, so coming down the sidewalk is not gonna be an option. And I think it's cumbersome, like the easement means cutting across, but it's their driveway, business parking lot. Like, it's not an easy
Yeah.
fix to like kind of diagonally go over there.
Even underground. I mean, it would all, once it's installed, there'd be no impact on.
So what?
Right, but I think to dig it all out, right,
That's
we have to dig out his
You'd have
parking
to
lot.
break into that.
We have to take out his rock
Yeah.
wall, his signage, like, I mean, it's extensive.
Extensive, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so, and if we don't do that, then it looks like we're coming down the street, which is also
Jane?
extensive.
Sorry. Do we have a location and depth of the telephone bank?
That I don't know. Typically, I don't think they put those in all that deep.
Maybe not, that's what I'm saying, it's usually not. I'm just thinking out loud, not having looked at this, but the idea would be to directionally drill in the sidewalk, I mean, from the side, under the sidewalk. In other words, bring it down in front, in the town's easement or the state layout, actually. At that point, that's Route 106.
Mhm.
Stay outside and deeper. And then do a directional drilling underneath the bank for maybe 10 feet or whatever the stub is. Just thinking that would avoid all that interference. Do you know what the invert of the pipe is? Our sewer? Probably down 6 feet.
So
The last
the
manhole.
lateral at 198 is 6.5 feet deep,
See that,
and then the manhole out at 10C. You're probably in the 8-foot range.
So assuming, like you said, and I would agree, the telephone bank is within the top 3 feet, it's no deeper. We can figure out. And just all you need is a shallow directional drilling pit. The connection's 2 inch, 3 inch.
6-inch lateral.
The sewer itself,
Out on the main?
Yeah.
That should be an 8-inch,
it's 8 inch, and then so the lateral for this connection
6-inch.
is 6 inch, so you have plenty of room to. Would we need 6 inch from their house down to that point?
Typically, once it changes outside the foundation, 10 feet out, they go from 4-inch to 6.
All right, so we'd have to do 6 then, bring it up to their property, but just the directional drilling part is a short little thing, you know, because no matter, well, and then you can still tie into that connection, but you're going down the sidewalk instead. Does that work?
Instead of going through his yard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'd like.
I'll go with it.
He's okay with us tying in at the 198 connection point.
Okay,
He does not love the idea of us digging up his whole property.
hearing it
easement.
that extensive, yeah.
Right, so we're
So
just trying to figure
That's the
out.
main,
Yeah, okay,
Hearing, yeah.
and that's the,
existing, so
I just don't wanna put in a
They're up
homes
here.
with a
And
septic,
they're up
and
here,
then
yeah.
5 years from
Because
now.
they-
we
we can figure what that is. Then right to that,
that.
they're in the right of way, the section of property.
possibly, it's
'Cause
a
you-
pretty tight.
Do you know,
sidewalk.
do you know what would the invert outs coming out of the house would be?
I talked to John Matthias and he felt that there was plenty elevation because that house is kind of up on
Yeah,
a bit of a.
So you can go shallow and
He'd
then
be the one doing
Yeah.
the work.
you go kind of shallow from the house. I'm talking like, you're going this way. So you might not even need to go underneath. You know?
There's,
Yeah.
I guess at that point, it's a process issue
Yeah,
that, you know,
contract
maybe,
issue,
maybe
yeah.
John and yourselves can kind of figure out what the best route to go is. But if there's an easement that's gonna have to take place to get yourself over there, that'll have to be arranged.
But there's possibility of going under the
Yeah, I think-
sidewalk, you're saying, or?
I think if you get out to this, to the street layout, I mean, that's your property, the next door neighbor's property. The back of the sidewalk is located, that's probably where the actual street.
Mhm.
So if you just get into that, then you're going down the edge of that, you're not, there's no easement issue. Be a sewer connection easement, which is, everybody has them. And then just the elevation, if, like I said, John Matthias and David looked at it, if you're starting up high, because you're up high, you're going down. Now you have a nice pitch down to whatever that connection is, which is probably 5 feet down or 4 feet down. So it's really not it's a shallow,
So I just want to show you, that's the sign you worried
Yeah.
about coming under.
Yeah, I don't wanna.
So,
to avoid that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if they came in on that sidewalk, there might be enough room to squeak between that wall and that, but it'd be tight.
It's pretty just, isn't it?
And then you've got a telephone pole right there that,
How far off the street is the actual house?
not far, I'd say 10 feet.
198
sound about
maybe?
right?
Yeah.
Yes, not far at all.
10.
That's 198.
Maybe, yeah.
ish.
If
Yeah,
you
that's
come out of, if
198.
you come out of the side of the basement, went straight into his parking lot, and then dug straight down his driveway to the street.
I'm sorry?
If you come out of the side of the building
Mhm.
with the pipe, go into his parking lot, into the parking lot, and then down his parking lot in his driveway. There's no taking out of signs, there's no taking out of walls. It's just you're digging the parking lot up and then repaving it.
That's
That's
a
like,
sign.
I know that the rock walls and stuff are really
Yeah.
tight.
Mhm.
So you either have to
Yeah,
come on. the
everything
street
could be
side
snug in
of
there,
that rock
yeah.
wall, or come on the backside and come around. But you still have to transition his driveway.
So the sewer's that way, right?
Yeah,
Down
That's
there.
down, right?
The sewer's
See, you-
downhill, yeah.
You're coming this way. Seems to me to get, if you got a lot of pitch, the whole road's pitching, everything's going the right direction, that's good.
I think his pitch is good,
Yeah.
but.
You're pretty,
You'll
think
have
How
to
do we get- how do
transition
we
that
get to
driveway
it?
so you
to
go pretty
back
shallow
down.
right here. Yeah, and then pull it too. It's coming down the pole.
Right, well, that's like I don't know if you saw it, but the sidewalk is all.
Yeah.
Very colorful right now, with marking all of the Verizon stuff that is underneath the sidewalk.
They're replacing that sidewalk or they're just paving that. area?
There's there's gas, there's the telephone, there's,
I'm sure, I think John Matthias was doing.
Everything
work
this way.
Trying to open up our driveway a little bit,
everything's that way.
Connection is just
for
after the
Ken.
pole.
Yeah. You
So
get-
he had DigSafe come out.
There's
put
your
it, like,
race line.
on,
Oh, I
very
get you.
colorful.
There's your
Yeah,
gas,
yeah,
right?
With all the stuff.
Gas
that's
is on
under
that
there.
side.
Yes,
Then. Yeah, so if you, I mean, this is take a little time, but not too much time, but you could. There's 3 or 4 feet in it,
might be.
and as long as we keep it shallow, then you get the telephone guys in there, they just watch it. I just went through putting in this one. I had to drill wells next to a 16-inch high pressure gas line. The National Grid didn't let me out of this site the whole time, but they let me do real close. So, I think it's not an undoable thing. It's just a little bit of research more.
Well, I guess the choice is yours, because what I've been told, I talked to John today, that you have percolate material up there.
Mhm.
For on-site system, but you were more concerned about if we put sewer up that road in the years to
Yeah.
come.
Yeah,
Right,
that's what
like
it's
if I'm,
Right here.
$50,000
You
septic.
get the raceway
to throw it
over
away.
here.
Yeah, we
But it's shallow.
typically have
That's all
10
we
years
need.
when you
Yeah.
put it in, I mean,
You
Board of
know, you don't
Health.
need,
If we were
get
to
to
run
a
up that street.
utility box
they
connections
put it
like
in,
this.
Yeah.
so they-
and I used to see that.
8 years later,
Don't
you
touch
get
the
2 more
footing.
years out of your system. But I don't think we plan on going up Main Street today anyway.
I never say never
It's
anymore.
on
I know
the
that's
list.
true,
It's on the
you
list.
can't promise that right now.
that's,
So I
I
understand.
mean, we've heard it's on the list.
From
but
our
yeah.
It was on the list a
perspective,
long time ago and somebody took it off. That's
Right.
another story.
from our perspective, we have capacity.
Yeah,
If
okay.
if it's doable, if Matthias can figure it out and Dave signs off on it, then we're fine with it.
Right.
So whatever
Okay.
decision you make and whatever can be figured out,
If we can figure out a
Yeah.
sidewalk option.
yeah.
For us, it just seems to make the most sense all around to
Mhm.
be able to try and pursue this if we can.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, if we're going into the road and we're adding up and up and up in
And
the
for any
bill and the
future
cost.
expansion
is-
that you may want to do on the property yourselves, you have access to this, or you're already in the sewer line.
Right.
There's no one taking up space in the backyard. All that square
I
footage.
also love that idea,
Yeah.
right? Right.
One
We
and
do
done.
love the land and
Yeah.
like, yeah, trying to preserve.
You don't want to have a
Yeah.
septic system in the backyard.
Yeah, so all of it
If
seems
you
like a
can
win if we
down-
can do
yeah.
it. I just, obviously, we're here, it's way out of my skill set and what we
Yeah, I
can
like that
do
idea.
and then how we fell in. We are aiming to close July
Yeah.
31st. That still is a big variable number that could easily
No, it's
be
pretty
August sometime.
Purchasing the one?
Yeah.
Oh, even better.
Have you had a Title V done on the system yet?
It has not been done.
Okay.
It is our understanding there was one done, I don't know, 10+ years ago that failed.
Oh,
But it was a cash sale, so they didn't.
There you
The most recent sellers didn't do it.
you take
No, I mean-
responsibility. Actually, I think you still have to do Title
How
V.
many
No,
bedrooms?
not they're gonna put it through it.
No, what I'm saying is,
For a sale.
in order to pass paper.
Yeah.
You'd have to have some sort
Instead
of.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, we
And
have.
then
to-
you'd be
we
able
have
to,
to
you'd
get
have to go to
it
the
do
hotel to
more.
get a waiver.
There's your way into paying for the sewer connection, is that you have a failed septic system, you're gonna put that money towards the sewer connection, and I'm thinking more out loud that this could be, in our position, we could consider it more of a temporary connection. It wouldn't be that, something that would be as least costly as possible, with the idea that somewhere in the next 10 years, there's gonna be sewer all the way up Main Street. Okay,
At
and
which
then-
point then you would reconnect.
We'll be ripping up the street anyways and make the nice permanent connection and it's all done.
Okay.
But this gets you into our system and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Mhm.
You just flush the toilet and that's it.
So-
And,
If you need something like Title V, for closing, we can take a vote tonight and say we have available capacity
Mhm.
to connect 200 Main Street. And working with our superintendent, we would allow a connection, a municipal connection.
Yeah.
Is that
I'll make that motion,
okay?
just like that. That's perfect.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
In case you need something for a bank or something.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
We are gonna need
Wonderful.
something,
Yeah.
so that's great. And so then the other questions we have, of course, are like what's the connection fee, the betterment rates, all of those things.
We're deciding that tonight.
Great.
Unfortunately, it's going up.
How many bedrooms is the house?
6.
But I can tell you it's worth it, no matter what you do. I mean, it really is.
Just voted on it, at least under the old. The old thing.
Right, is there, is the grandfather in at this
I don't
point in
know.
time in the conversation, like,
They're gonna need two anyways, so.
Right, I mean, yeah, I mean, we can go down that.
I don't know.
we have a
I was
lot of
actually gonna-
renovations to go, so.
Yeah,
think
well,
that-
just to give you some, I think one of the points I was gonna bring up based on our last continued hearing we're having tonight
Yeah,
is to give ourselves some flexibility for this exact kind of decision
okay,
that, with people in transition, people that this isn't a hardship, but people in transition between our rules and regulations have a particular circumstance which we cannot create out of our mind today. I know regulations, if we try to write them this and, you know, have
Right, right.
a off ramp, you're in debt, you're gonna get screwed up.
Yeah,
But, you know, so this might be a way we cover that point.
but we did talk about unique construction
Yeah,
projects
exactly.
as having like, you know, different categories.
Do we wanna allow, you know, because it's 6 bedrooms, 2 units, at 22,000 at the moment.
Yeah.
Or, you know, 44,000. For the bed.
Mhm.
So I think
Right.
about that as well.
But that's what we expected, but
Yeah.
my concern as well, like if you're going up and you're going up tonight, like, you know,
Yeah.
we're 2 months out from this, like.
I mean,
what?
we can amend the motion to say that under the existing rules and
I'll amend the
regulations.
motion to that point, which
Okay.
is there before the,
Okay.
Thank you.
So, we'll assign 200 Main Street, 2 EIUs, each at $11,000. Sorry,
22.
each at $22,000 for a total of $44,000.
That's 6
Okay.
bedrooms.
So that was the-
33.
Yeah, so that was the amended.
that's amended, I'll agree with that. And
Okay, so you want to second that again?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, That's your price.
Thanks.
that's your
Thank
vote.
you so much.
If you go the other way, you go the other way, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but no, this is a great,
Yeah.
Traffic's Point, we
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate it, and
Thanks for your
I'll
time.
let John Matthias know where we're at and maybe have him connect with you and see.
He's creative, so whatever needs to
Yeah,
be
he knows what
done,
he's
I'll
doing.
try and work.
And he's
with
done
it.
a lot of work at 198, so he
Yes.
has a really good familiarity
He
with
says,
the
he
whole.
says it is his dentist, so he wants to.
Hey.
Just don't wanna make him angry.
I think
I've
he
never
also
met
put in
flossers.
he connected that 198
Yeah.
up to, so he was
Very
working
good,
around
yeah.
that telephone pole.
And
in
under
the
the-
past,
and
so-
under the telephone
Yeah,
raceway,
I
probably.
would think so.
That's what I'm saying. If he did
Way
that,
down
he
close
would
to it.
support it
Yeah.
for.
Okay,
They did a lot of directional drilling when we did this for that, for longer runs because of us interferences. It's a really, all it is a drilling rig. It's on the side of the little rotary, goes right underneath everything. You slide a pipe underneath it, done. Takes like 10 minutes.
There's no backfill, there's no,
Nothing.
nothing, yeah.
that's amazing.
So you do a hole wherever you're going and that hole
Yeah, it's
where
a-
you're starting.
Is it starting pit and the back?
Yeah.
They do it a lot, like for 106, 27, really busy roads to avoid digging up, just
Yeah.
like he doesn't want to be out there getting killed and
Yeah.
stuff. You put the pit over here, you drive 100 feet under the road, under everything,
Mm,
and then come up on the other side, done.
Beautiful.
No one even knows you're there.
So it might help keep the driveway intact.
sounds great.
An option John might want to play around with, seeing if he knows someone around that can do it.
Okay.
So,
Most of the utilities, the
Yeah.
telephone people, Verizon has it, they do this all the time, just for this purpose.
Mm,
So if there's a pole on the other side, there's a new house over here, and they have to make a connection, they don't want to go above ground usually anymore, they want to go underneath, and they'll just put a 2-inch or 3-inch PVC sleeve. Nothing.
Great,
All right,
sounds like fun.
very exciting.
And you have my
Thanks.
contact, so just reach out
Yeah.
if
Okay.
you need,
Thanks for
we'll
your
try
help.
and help out. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect, great,
Jeannie can help out as well with
Great.
anything
Thanks.
on the paperwork end.
beautiful.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad it's in good hands.
We'd love a tour after.
All right.
So we can't wait to have you over.
Yeah.
We can't wait for looking every night.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, commitments, make a motion for 15 Baker Ave.
So over the last, like, since that sewer was put in, they basically use about 10,000 gallons. They estimated the reading and it was like 177,000. So like an $1,800 adjustment that would need to be made to
Okay,
that, and the water did acknowledge that, and they did the same.
okay. So, make a motion for you to adjust the, bill for 15 Baker Ave to the, average.
10,000 gallons, 182.30.
Okay,
A second?
all in favor? Aye.
Hi,
Okay, 3 Bagnell.
This was, the water service has been shut off since 2024, and it ended up with a $42 service fee. So we just want to abate that and make the wear out.
Make a motion to make the $42 service fee
Second.
at 3 Bagnell.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then what, we just have the,
Final water. That's it. 125.
make that motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we just did. That's nice that they're gonna restore the house, I like that.
Yeah. I'm looking at these shutters.
There's a reason, this gives us another reason to make that sewer go up there. Telling you, after what I'm hearing around, the world's changing quickly around sewer in this town. It's all going the right direction.
Good. Okay, 324 Country Club Way, Dave.
So 324 Country Club Way, they originally had designed a septic system for the property. I reached out to them, spoke with the builder on the property and let them know that they have to tie into sewer. So myself and Keith are in discussions with them in terms of trying to ease their frustration with the fact that they designed a sewer system, a septic system, and now they have to tie into our sewer. So we're working through some issues with the owner of the property at this point, but looks like obviously we connected to our source relatively soon. So as we finish out our discussions, I'll let you know how we remedy the situation of their septic system design, even though they're gonna be tying into our sewer. So Keith and I are working on that separately, so we'll be able to sort that out, I think.
Very good.
While I'm chatting away, the leaching field mowing situation, we don't have much grass growing up there at this point.
Okay.
So the idea of needing to mow it obviously is not something that's critical, but looking forward, as I'm starting to free up from some of the year-end budgetary things and closing out this year's FY 25 budget, and moving into FY 26. I get a little free time recently to approach the highway department. They have a John Deere tractor existing in the highway department, so I talked briefly with Sean about possibly using that and getting some of the model numbers off it and seeing what it would cost if we had to get a brush whacker. I guess you gotta cut the grass a little differently than just a rotary blade because of the height that you let the grass grow to.
It's more of a mowing operation
Yeah,
because of the meadow.
Yeah.
You can't leave too much thick thatch around.
They're using the rear attachment, 3-point hitch with the power takeoff.
they do have that available for this unit,
Right.
so.
That's what I'd like you to see on the highway, the guys doing the highway on the back of the.
Yeah, and they pull it
Yeah,
behind them.
yeah.
So I'm gonna try and get some details on that over the next month or so, see
Okay.
what an attachment will cost as an option. The other option I'd like to entertain is that Bobcat now is probably somewhere around 12 years old. And potentially see what we get for a trade-in for that.
Mm.
And get a Bobcat with tracks on it that also has that similar attachment,
Right.
so that we could, one, replace an aging Bobcat with something a little newer. If it's not that much of a cost difference, I can look at some of the
Why
scenarios.
would you want a track vehicle for that property? We want turf tires more than anything aggressive.
If you had wheels on it, from what I understand, just
Yeah.
the weight of the Bobcat might not get the traction you need to move
Okay.
yourself along.
Mhm.
I figure I'd reach out to the
Sure,
John
yeah,
Deere
yeah.
people and see.
See what they, yep.
Just to have some alternative ideas on how we're gonna mow, but again, the highway department said if, you know.
What do we
wanted
have
to
up
use
there
that
for
tractor
plants
to
now?
do that.
Is it just natural grass or weeds or
Nothing,
nothing?
not even weeds,
Not even a farm, like,
except for my little plot that I did.
if you were to put rye in there or something, you couldn't get a farm to come and hay it.
It has to be the special mix.
Okay.
It's a
all
whole meadow mix. It's not your typical grass, yeah.
right, curious.
So some other solutions, obviously, we could sub it out or buy a completely new tractor
Yeah.
itself, but with the highway barn already having a tractor, it seems silly to go spend the money.
Right. We
Um,
just need the attachment.
We have all that stuff in the budget that we didn't get passed with the last And I think abandoning that and adding it to the leaching field at this point is, I agree with you, it's not worth doing anymore.
Mm.
So, because we gotta get that all paid for, get it all figured out, but again, that's DEP screwed that up. So, yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, just,
Yeah.
but it does need it does need, like, it can't be just regular tires. It has to be tracked, you know,
Well, Bobcat has smaller tires, anyways, I can understand the point, but if you got a tractor, you get turf. tires,
Yes, yeah.
You get big tires.
Yeah, so it's either tractor with the big tires, or I imagine
Yeah.
the track system for the Bobcat, the skid
Right.
steer.
So in highway, would be,
At this point, they said they're willing to, where we only use it one, we probably mow maybe once, maybe twice a year.
yeah,
only once, That's another factor that's.
Oh,
So to purchase a tractor and have it sit
Right.
362 days a year, it'll probably take multiple days to cut, now
yeah,
you're paying for an asset that's just sitting there.
yeah,
You
that
know,
makes sense.
We don't have a garage at the plant, so then it's, all the elements to just be used once a year. It's
Be cheaper to sub-
The other thing we were looking at was gonna
Right.
be used, would be housed at the, highway department, they would use it more, not
and
just to mow.
share.
They were gonna start mowing like the puddle fields that they now sub out, because they don't have the equipment to do it, so we were gonna share it, when I talked with Frank Basil 6, 8, 10 months ago. But I think changing it to where you're going is the right way to go, just gets that out of our, one thing off the list.
Right, and I told them we'd be willing to share some maintenance costs on it if that was required. So, these are just some things I'm trying to play out before all of a sudden we have a tall meadow there. Not that I expect it to happen anytime soon, but that time will come that we need to mow it. Just trying to get ahead of it.
You want to catch everybody up on the financials with, budgets?
Yeah, so the FY 25 budget is closing out obviously June 30th. And we do look good. I in fact got an email today, Jeannie and I got an email from the finance department, and they also agreed that everything looked good. I want to make sure they weren't missing anything, and everything we see looks like we're right in line.
Perfect.
We may not have to reach into our article money that was set aside at a town meeting to offset some of our shortcomings. So with some increased septage, some of the new things that were put into the plant as part of the upgrade, cut down on some of the things we needed to replace that were aging out. They were already done as part of the upgrade, so I think that kind of softens some of the need for expensing out some more repairs and that were covered by the plant upgrade. So I think things are looking pretty good. So we're good for FY 25. FY 26 budget as approved. We're covered for FY, did I say FY 25? FY 26 budget should be fine for all FY 26. And with our situation that we're going to public hearing on this leaching field shortfalls, that will only help us in FY 26. So I think we're looking good going forward.
Good. And what is septage looking like this year?
Septage is great. We anticipated somewhere around 400,000 for estimated. But we ended up, I think we're closer to 580, 600 now.
618.
618?
They'll come out to, we're at like 581, and I just made a couple of deposits that weren't included in that. total. So,
There's
So
a
they
lot
call
of-
it,
there's
that's
a lot
why
of
they call
truck
it
traffic
black
going.
gold.
So that's, yeah.
A lot of truck traffic.
And some of that was due to some of the misfortunes, treatment plant down at Plymouth had that we took a bunch of their influent. So I wouldn't expect that to be the normal.
Right.
But we also use that 400,000 number to estimate FY 26's contribution from septage. So I would expect that we should be able to sit in at least 500 next year.
Good.
But depending on how things are going, the plant's behaving very well, so we've been able to handle that.
Good. Hot weather, any issues with
No.
extreme heat?
No, other than us working in it, it's been,
Without air conditioning, I hear.
yeah, so that's something we gotta get on. We
Good.
replaced a belt in one of the units that think the slack in the belt might have been affecting the fan working too hard, so. We adjusted that, and of course, today wasn't the best day to judge whether your air conditioning was working, but
Right.
today it was working.
So that'd be
it's-
great if it's something simple as that.
And then the mini split that handles my office has an error code on it that's showing a leak, so I've got to get in touch with the facilities department, see who they use for their mini splits, get them out there next week or the week after.
Is the hearing at 6:30?
Don't use Beantown.
Yeah, 6:30.
I'm sorry,
Don't use Beantown. I don't recommend them.
duly noted.
They're probably gonna be the only ones that are gonna respond.
Well, I like to use whoever facilities uses, because more than likely, he's getting a pretty good response from his vendors.
Yep.
Rob's really good. Down on the staffing issue, the gentleman that's out on injury is gonna be out for at least another month.
Oh, wow.
They're gonna do a cortisone shot on the shoulder. And depending on how that responds, if it works well, great, but if not, it might be surgery. And then that could push us out another 3 or 4 months. So
Is it a tear, a rotator cuff tear or something? Or,
it's a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
Specifically what it is, I can't really say.
because I know that's painful as hell. It's short,
And it's a slow
slow
recovery
to,
too.
I've been through it twice. I sympathize with them.
So even though we've come across a great laborer recently and welcomed Ryan McKee to our crew, that helps. But we're missing, a lab guy and an on-call guy. So for some of the guys, more than likely are gonna have to step it up and stay on that three-week rotation. But we have a great crew, so they're picking up the slack where they need to, and we'll get through it.
Very good. Can't say enough about what your leadership does, and the staff goes above and beyond. We're very fortunate.
We are a great crew. Each one has their own separate talents, and it really worked well.
It is really impressive. It is.
Even the succession plan. Start as a laborer and you end up as a
It's the right way to
superintendent.
go, right? You know, the whole thing.
We were talking about that in town hall today about, when people are hired on here, that if a department head leaves and it's not someone coming up from below, the next person that comes in is starting fresh without someone to kind of train them in their craft, whatever it is, or how we operate here in Kingston. So
Yeah,
it definitely helps having that, internal movement.
That's exactly where to go. And in our case, we were lucky with Jean coming in from outside, not having that, but she's smart enough to figure out what.
Thank you.
So, and we got 2 people doing.
Yeah.
It's just,
So maybe we're not the smartest people. in the world.
we're just watching.
Sell yourself short.
I think I'm gonna vote after that.
I put DPW on here because I went to the DPW hearing the selectmen had. And a lot of people got up. Again, more, not necessarily against it, just trying to get what the whole gist of it was. I only said 2 things about 6:15 because the firefighters were waiting out in the hallway to come in and get pinned and all of that, and so they were gonna continue the hearing anyway, which they did till July 29th. And I did make the comment that we've never had a highway project problem with roads, that Paul Basler, who was in the room, was always included in the meetings. He was part of the team for all of that, so. And that's all I said. I do plan on next hearing to, say more. During the conversation, Ember had asked, if it's not DPW, these are my words, to basically what she said, if not a DPW, then what's the solution? So it's more like, what's the problem? I mean, I'm hearing tonight that Dave's working with Keith, Dave's working with Highway, Dave has always worked with everybody. And I don't know, I need more definitive, what's the problem with wastewater?
Yeah.
And to that point, it's representing you, all of us on that TPO committee, that it's very clear what the problem is. And I'm glad someone else is asking that question from outside that committee, because it will help resolve the issue correctly. I'll say that, number one, that, because purposely, we kept this confidential in that meeting. But I did offer a suggestion, which I've told you, which I think would make that's the next step, and I've made this clear to all the members of that team. I think the Water and Sewer Commission should be exploring joining together as a step in that direction to solve much of what is perceived as a problem. And it would be a much more efficient way if we were to go to DPW as a step to that point in the future.
Well, and with you saying that, Matt Sawicki spoke, he's in Plymouth. He's the water,
Really?
water superintendent in Plymouth. And he got up and he said, before you even think of a DPW, the least you should do is have a DPW board,
Well,
which would,
that was a part of the
so,
question too.
yeah,
Yeah, have a years-long study of what's going on, but go quickly, more quickly to water and sewer, because there's a synergy there. You got trained people on different kind of training, but you have an enterprise account that they need help with. We have a much better situation than they do. We have but having that kind of a relationship, bringing things in, and then putting someone into a DPW director position, the way it's worded, PE and that kind of thing is perfect. But it's going to be the right person to start that off. And you just don't do it in a few months.
and,
So
right, and you. First step would be working, trying to get it somewhat combined. And then see what the effect is after that, because again, I don't really know what the problem is that's trying to be solved.
and that would take, just to do it, we talked about that, take a year, maybe get up an annual town meeting next year or something, and start getting people fleshing it out, and having staffs working on both sides, helping us, because they're looking at snow plowing, as one of the issues coming up. Well, I keep telling them, we got guys that are working 24/7
Right.
on call, and it just doesn't happen. If it can happen on a case-by-case basis, that's one thing. But to do this as a matter of operation is not.
Right, and
So-
that's it, you kind of assign the crew to a neighborhood to plow, because they're on call if something happens. I mean, I was talking to Carl, a few days ago, maybe a week ago, and he tell you sleep over. They're sleeping there.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna be out plowing, being called off because something's going on. So anyway, that's another,
Yeah, we have 16 pump stations to shovel
Right.
out by hand, because you can't plow them out. So we have to shovel them out, and then all the walkways within the plant, all the driveways in the plant. The driveway to Jones River, Rocky Nook, we have to keep those open all the time. So there's a lot of activity on our own end before we even look at considering. And we do have a laborer that we could give up, but we've been understaffed for probably close to 4 years now.
All very good points.
duly noted. Okay, timeline for the utility billing. Gina, you wanna talk about that?
So once we make these decisions today about the amounts, we would need to have everything entered in the utility billing side by July 7th. The Stacy starts the bill run like around July 11th. And we'll do some testing before she starts the bill run. And then, she has offered her assistance. if,
Oh, good.
There is anything that she can do or any questions that can be answered. So I feel confident that if we make these decisions, that we'll be able to get all of this done, because we definitely want to hit the September billing, and move forward.
Very good.
In the water department, Elaine asked if we could send over some addresses to see how many meters they have. And Stacy and Laurie are working on that. And I should have that like tomorrow.
Yeah, because you'll have a strip mall that, we charge the property in ERU, but there could be 3 or 4 meters. So that's what we're trying to reconcile, those that may have multiple meters. What do we do with those? So, but we're working through all that. The spreadsheet is probably 1,800 rows, and of that might be 75 that are in question that water department's helping to resolve. So we're in good shape. Everything is looking pretty good.
I have a question. Do you think at this point in time or in the near future, we should get one more staff member? Are we big enough to be able to sustain that?
If we could stay fully staffed,
Right, you'd be okay,
we might be okay.
all right.
But I haven't really been fully staffed enough to know. If
All
that's enough.
right, no,
What I'm doing now is working with what I have.
right,
It'd be great if I could have 6 months with a full staff and see how that functions.
whether you need to bring in 2 laborers.
Right now, it gets awfully tight.
Yeah.
Awfully tight. We had an issue the other day that we had to do an entry into a pump station, which we had 3 guys for the confined space entry, plus myself, so there's 4 of us. We had 1 guy back at the plant. And that's how we ran our day.
Yeah.
So when you have an issue that you're trying to deal with something that needs multiple bodies, then it does get pretty thin. So we try and plan, if we have something major to do, we try and plan it when, there's not gonna be someone that has a day off or they're out sick or something, not that you can anticipate, but doctor's appointments, things like that. But you can't always anticipate that.
Okay.
So if an emergency happens on a day that we're short-staffed, another body is out because of doctor's appointments or vacation, we'll be strapped.
Yeah, because I don't know if you wanted to bring another entry level and they can have 2 laborers, and classify the grades as, laborer 1, laborer 2, and then train them.
Yeah, it's something I'll, we can definitely talk about and consider.
Well, yeah,
It's
please,
one of,
don't hesitate to come to us. when you
Yeah,
feel that's
yeah.
necessary.
so one thing that may help is during the summer months, is look at, do we have someone maybe mow the plant and take care of the stations, especially where we're short-staffed.
Right.
So that might help alleviate some of the pressure.
Somebody per diem, and if you did per diem, you wouldn't have to pay them insurance.
Or just outsource someone,
Yeah.
some landscaping company to
Well,
come in.
They
Oh, right.
outsource some landscaping here already, I believe.
Right.
So,
So it's something we could look at.
Mhm. and that was why the landscaping here was outsourced, because the highway department
Didn't
didn't
have-
have the bodies to
exactly.
be able to man the Vector truck and do drains and everything and then mow. So that's when, at the time, we went with outsourcing the landscaping.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I want to deal with in the collection system. We have generators that some of the radiators are original radiators on it, and these generators pushing 20 years old. So I want to slowly start swapping out generators, and we can do a lot of that in-house. But to do that, then something else is gonna suffer.
Right, right.
So it might be something to consider, and I'm hoping this cortisone shot works and we
Hmm.
have our member back within a month, but I've been hoping for months that he'd be back. And
Hmm.
here we are, so. It's a catch-22. If I find out next month that it's gonna be a surgery, I think we have to start looking at something. And vacations, a lot of people take their vacation times in summer, so. It's gonna be a struggle in that couple of.
Yeah. It's a hard business to find someone to come in as a temp.
Well, that's it. So you have to maybe find something that you do and outsource that part, so you can alleviate some of
Right.
your workload to go concentrate on some of the more pressing things that you need to deal with.
Right, okay.
to me, it's not really that important if my grass is 18 inches tall at the plants. As long as my generators will run when I need them to run, you know what I mean? So I can even say, don't worry about mowing
Right.
Get a goat,
next week or the week after.
get a goat,
Yeah.
Now, that would be something.
yeah,
They could take care of the leaching fields too.
that's.
Yeah, there's some sheep out there. It's all fenced in.
No, it's not fenced in. But a couple of goats on a
Tether
string.
them.
You
Yeah.
get goats on a string, we have a bunch of wells strung around all over the place, we get, problem is they eat too much, you go, this meadow has got they go right down to the ground,
The root.
yeah. Honest, I have two real quick things.
Sure, yeah.
On the staffing, we had talked a little bit in the past about, performance evaluations from our point of view with David. I think that, when I saw staffing, I thought we might talk about that, that's something I'd like to make sure we
Yeah,
kind of put on there. As a. And then. Just a quick update. Dave was with me Tuesday afternoon. At the Water Commission's meeting. I've sent you emails this afternoon. Summarizing the meeting. And copying you on something I sent to DP. I'm cautiously optimistic after the meeting that. The memo we put together and the reception it got. The majority of the board. Is that if we can satisfy one piece of information, which we recommended in the report to get DEP to agree that in an emergency, there's more than ample supply of water available at 2 wells. Already approved, everything's done, they're all approved. They're restricted because of Water Management Act issues only. But in emergency, that goes out the window anyway, so. Kristen Berger for them has already drafted a letter. I corresponded with her just by email. It was a phone call, right? Basically an email type phone call. So she's already drafted a letter. So that's moving forward. And I've also copied DEP following up on my long-term discussions with them on this issue. And they're aware of what's coming down the line. So trying to expedite it from every direction we can. And I got my fingers crossed.
very good.
So Dave, you know, if you have any thoughts on this, what we saw.
No, I thought the discussion went really well. One point that Brian made, which I thought was interesting. The evaluation that was done by CDM referenced some of the issues the water department has in terms of drawing from some of their wells. That the water level at Smelt Pond and Smelt Brook, if it were drawn down too much, would affect the flows coming out of the pond. And to Brian's point, when we start putting effluent up in our leaching field, that is gonna help that groundwater table resaturate in that area of Smelt Brook. So it will only help with the water table situation there. If there was an extreme drought, we're only adding, instead of sending it out to sea, we're
Yeah.
adding back to that aquifer. So it'll only be a positive thing for the water department,
Oh,
I think,
that's good.
as we start discharging up there.
Cause I mean, that's 300,000 gallons a day.
It's, at the full tilt, it's close to 300,000 goes towards Smelt Brook, the other 300 goes towards Second Brook in Jones River. It's kind of splits, you're at the top of a ridge. So,
Yeah, about half and half.
yeah, about half and half.
Somewhere. Either way, there'll be a plus. So,
Making progress.
Very good.
yeah.
Yeah, but
which was all
actually, I'll
part-
have emails.
Which was all part of the original design of the system.
It's good, yeah. 25 years ago when,
Which is why, the history makes a
We're
difference.
glad to have you back.
Yeah,
but I can help.
You had a lot of foresight seeing all this stuff 25 years ago.
I keep thinking that, I see, we fought, like, it was like, in the neck to get everyone to say, what the hell do you want up there? And to Don Freeman, CDM and me, both of us, I gotta find this paper we wrote about this, by the way. There's a paper on the golf course, things that be published, and I can't find the paper. But anyways, it's all about, people used to say, what are you doing up there? What the hell are you doing? We're down here. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. That's the only place big enough for this plant. And we were thinking, it's designed for 1 million gallons a day. It's also, you've heard me say this many times recently, it ain't big enough for what we really need. But there's a lot of land next to it.
Yeah.
When do we want to have our next meeting? When's our next meeting? July 1st, if we stay on schedule, but
Yes.
after that, if it's not the 1st, it's the 16th, 15th?
Will we have all
15.
15 ready for the 7th?
The 15th.
Okay, so
You know what I'm saying?
we could, yeah,
We want to carry over to next Tuesday. If we don't, the deadline with the water department is the 7th, right? They want this information.
yes, we can vote tonight and then just review the language in that paperwork for the documents.
Okay, that's fine.
July 15th, I have a meeting at 5 o'clock. That's the only thing that, we can avoid that, if we go early or something.
Or we can do it, but we can do it the 7th. That's not the first, like go off schedule,
The
That's
8th,
a Monday.
the 8th,
or the 8th,
the 8th, yeah.
the 8th,
I'm fine either way.
I'm not going anywhere.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm around that 8th.
Okay, why don't we do that then?
July 8th.
Yeah. Okay,
And just to remind us, starting the week of July 1st, the townhouse will be closed on Fridays. We went to our 4-day work week for 6 months. Everybody know that.
Okay, so they're gonna be closed for summer. So for the next 6 months on Friday, right?
and if it is successful forever,
Okay. So what does that mean? You work in 9-hour day, 10-hour day?
So we only work 35 hours, so we'll still come in at 8, stay until 5, and instead of an hour lunch, only a 30-minute lunch.
Okay. I guess that works.
Get a pack of cooler now, no going out.
Yeah, really.
don't get stuck in traffic. Okay, so we probably take a motion to adjourn,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second that?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.